So now, since I talked about this before, I'm going to show you something again. This is also a very powerful idea. So this idea is the Lego blocks idea, right? That if you have multiple functions, then we can actually take the output of one function and give it to the next function. So just to illustrate that point, here I've done, there's a function called double, and then it returns the double of a value. Then we already created this function called square, and it returns the square of a value. So now I can actually first call, okay, so now it's important to understand the order in which things happen. First I'm calling double, then I'm calling square. And 3 is the value that I pass in, right? So you must always go to the deepest innermost part of the function sequence and then read outwards. I repeat again, go to the innermost part of the function sequence and then read outwards. So in this case, I'll say double is run first, then whatever comes back from double is passed to square. So what's the answer if I run this? If I double 3 and then square it, what's the answer? Anyone want to tell me? 36, okay, Vikas got it. So yeah, there's 36, right? And I think Manish has a poll now. So the rule here is to just do this calmly. Just think about what the question is. Read the text carefully, okay? And then we will solve it together. So is everyone understand the question? If there's any, if you don't understand the question, then just ask me. Or if you need help, also ask. Okay, yes. Is there any way one can debug the Python program to cross-verify steps? Yes, the answer is yes. Subhash, maybe can you repeat this question towards the end? I will spend some time. On this. Subhash, you can also tell me quickly, you can tell me, do you have a programming background, Subhash? Have you programmed before? You can just put it in chat. Okay, recently started programming. Have you used any other debugger? Have you used a debugger before? Okay, which one? Visual Studio, one of my favorite tools. Very powerful editor. Okay, yeah. So the answer is yes. Yeah, Manish.
Okay, I think we can end the poll. I'm just wondering, like there are like only 10 out of 18 people have answered.
Okay. Why?
Yes. Yeah. So you can try.
So is someone who has not answered, tell me why? Was there a problem? Is there a problem? Anyone? Oh, Siddharth put the answer. Okay, Manish, you can display the result of the poll.
Okay.
Yeah, so while Manish is getting the poll up, I ask again, if some of you didn't answer the question, then just tell us in chat why. Okay, yeah, we got more responses, Manish.
Yeah, most of them responded.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, guys. That's wonderful. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I don't care. It's more all about learning, right? In fact, it's an important quote, right? We learn more from mistakes than success, because mistakes actually teach us something. So don't worry about any errors. Okay, so 36, 31%, 18, 16%. Okay, so clearly, if you run this program right now, 36 we get, right? And so I'm going to go to the answer, right? So the answer is, in this case, we ran double first and square later, right? Now in the quiz, if I read the text carefully, it's asking us something slightly different, right? It's asking us to square first, squaring 3 first, and then doubling it. So all I have to do is to put the square first, and then I have to do the double, right? And if I do that, then I'm in business. And let's see what we get now. That's 18. Okay, so 62% of you got 18. Maybe for some of you, the text was not clear, so that I'm just re-emphasizing that reading the question carefully is important. And I don't know where 27 came from. Does anyone want to tell me what is 27? Yeah, I don't know. I don't recognize the other two numbers, 12 and 27. But okay, if you want to chat, it'll be amusing to know what they are. But what is the important thing here? The important thing here that I want you to understand from this question is that the order of function calling matters, yes? If you call double first and then square it, or if you call square first and then double, it matters, right? And so then we must remember this sequencing. Of course, in life, in many cases, we know this, right? I don't want to find some simple examples, but many things in life, you cannot change the order of stuff, right? In programming too, we must be mindful of the order. So two important ideas. One is function composition, that you can compose functions, and it's not limited to 2, right? It could be 10 functions that I could be calling, one after the other after the other. But what is important there is the output of one should match to the input of the other. Why did it work in this case? Because every function outputs one value and every function inputs one value. So we can just keep chaining them. So it's an important trick. If you want to chain stuff, we should make sure the outputs and inputs match. I'll show more chaining examples as we go along. But I want to take you back and I want to show you something useful about creating functions. So I think Subhash had asked about debuggers. I'm actually going to show you a very interesting thing. It is a debugger, but it is not the debugger I want you guys to use, right? We'll talk about debugging later. But here I'm going to show you something that allows you to see what happens. Oh, sorry, Siddharth had a question. Instead of putting double, can we put 2 times square in that particular bracket? Yes, you can, but I think the question was use the double function. Okay, so the reason is, why can't you just do the calculation? You can always do the calculation by just squaring and doubling inline, right? Without writing any functions. The point is that's too rigid. So you cannot reuse your code again, right? So always want to use we always want to use the functions, and that exercise was meant to show you how to use the functions. Now remember another thing, when you're learning stuff, I want the functions to be simple. That's why you can say, oh, instead of calling the function double, I could have just read 2 times 6. Why do I have to say double 6, right? And the reason is to make it easy for you, we are writing simple functions. As you start writing more real programs, the functions will become more and more complicated, right? And then you don't have the option to just write it in place. Hopefully that answered your question. But now I want to show you something here. So this is actually a way for us to see what happens inside Python when we define a function. So every time I make a step here, you see in this case, the first step, Python actually, I remember I told you this in words, now you can see it. Python actually created in its memory. So everything you see on the right is the internal memory of Python. In its internal memory, Python made a variable called double. And this variable actually points to the function double, right? So it actually says, okay, I know what the function double is. That's the first step. But the function hasn't been run yet, right? So now I'm going to run the function. You see the red arrow pointing to the print statement. I'm going to run the function. So first it calls print, and then it goes to the function double. Now you see the arrows at the function double. And it's got the value 3, and it's going to go inside the function double. See, it's right now. It's the red arrow points. I'm inside the function double, and it's going to double the value, and it's going to return it, and you're going to see the return value of 6, and then the last thing is it prints it out, right? So it's a beautiful way for you to, in your mind, every time you write a function, understand this particular sequence, right? How we start and then go through the whole sequence, right? You start with the function definition. Then you go to the function invocation. Whenever a function is invoked, there's a specific parameter it's invoked for, and then you take steps through the function, okay? And then finally the function output is computed and you see the number 6. Hopefully that was helpful. I just wanted to give you a blueprint to keep in your mind of how things run. Now, Vikas asked this question about the debugger. This is really a Python visualization / debugging tool, okay? We can talk about this more. I don't want you guys to do this so much. What I want you to do, and I will basically answer the question, Subhash's question right now, is when you want to find out what's happening inside a function, just use print statements. So I'll show you how we can do that by going back to our function composition example. So if you look here, we had, it's going to take a second to load. If you look here, you see I have this function double, right? And I suppose, for example, I had written, just by mistake, I had written 3 here instead of 2, right? And of course, it's going to give me the wrong answer. And I'm not sure why I'm getting the wrong answer, right? So in that case, what I do is, before I return it, I can actually use a print statement, right? I can print 3 times. But if I want to print it and return it, then maybe I should store it to a variable. So let's make a variable here called temp, or yeah, temp. And then what I'm going to do is, inside the function, I'm going to print it, right? I'm going to print temp. And then just to make my function work without breaking, I'll return temp. Okay, and now this way, I can run the code, But when the code runs, I can actually see what's happening inside the function because I put a print statement there. Now this is used for debugging purposes, right? So when I run this, I can see, okay, so let's make this simpler. Let's just not run the multiple things. I'm debugging right now. So you see, I comment out everything else so I can zero in on my problem. And then I say, okay, I'm going to just print double. And I'm literally doing a debugging session with you, right? We made a mistake, so we're going to try to find it. So I said double, and I take some value that I know the answer for. So if I double 3, I know I should get the answer 6, right? So I run it, and I get the answer 9. And it's coming from inside, right? So now I can start putting more print statements. I'm like, why is it coming? So maybe I want to print out n as well. So I can print the value n. And now I run it. And I say, yeah, 3 came in as I expected. But why is 9 coming out? And then I can see, oh, I have put 3 here. So then I fix it, and now everything makes sense, right? Yeah, so now you see it's all done. And once I'm done, I can go in, and then I will just comment out, the statements that I put, which help me do the debugging, right? And later when my code is finalized, I can even delete this, right? So this is the way I want you guys to debug right now, right? Use print statements to show you what's happening in line. Wherever you want to see what's happening, just use a print statement. That's the simplest and the most low-level way of debugging. Later, we'll talk about more advanced debugging tools. Hopefully that answered Subhash's question. And I will go on. Is there any questions about function composition that we should talk about? I know Manish wanted me to finish exactly on time. So there is a very interesting concept. I'm going to mention it, and then I have to get to types as well.